Hey everybody, I'm Mari. Again, this is the Bittersweet Betty podcast. I'm coming back pretty quickly. I decided to re-record my 2019 Make 9 section. One, just for practice, and two, practice. That's pretty much it. So I have a lot of yarn to show you today that I basically picked my 2019 Make 9 by what I was most excited to work with. So I figure that's probably the best way to stay motivated, and not that it takes much motivation to be working on this stuff, but excuse me, maybe clearing my throat a lot. So 2019, I've kind of already gotten started. I started working on something a couple of days beforehand, partly as a gauge swatch. I just got started and then blocked it. I guess probably the best way to get started is just to get into it. So let's do that. So my first project for 2019, the one that I started, is going to be the Chuck pattern by Andy Satterland. Satterland, that's the right word. I think maybe I didn't say it. Doesn't matter. Okay, so this is the Chuck pattern. If you can see it without my face. And so I have this yarn that I bought last year. It's from a Michigan fiber mill. So again, I'm from Michigan. If you don't know that about me, I live in North Carolina, but from Michigan. So there's this yarn. It's called Shepherd's Wool. It's from Stonehenge Mills, fiber mill, up north, and they're basically like just a really great basic yarn. Like I think of them as like a Cascade 220. So if you haven't tried them out, I would definitely recommend them. They're super reasonably priced. For 250 yards of this, it's about $12 to $15 depending where you buy it from. This is the roasted pumpkin colorway. So basically the story is when I was up in Michigan visiting my folks last spring, I went to a yarn store in East Lansing, that had basically a whole wall of it. And I was like, awesome, I'm going to buy some, but I didn't have anything in mind for it. So I just ended up buying 4 skeins of the roasted pumpkin and also this, granite, this charcoal gray color. So it's 1,000 skeins, and 1,000 skeins is kind of a weird amount of yarn for me. Like, it's not enough to knit a sweater. It's kind of too much for a shawl or most accessory projects unless you're knitting a set. So I'm not quite sure what I was thinking. It was kind of like that was the amount of money I felt comfortable spending without an idea in mind. But it also means that I've been spending the last year trying to figure out what to do with them. So the good news is I think I've landed on some things. I've also bought some more, so that helps with the yardage issues. So this one is going to be that Chuck pattern, which is like a cropped sweater top. I started knitting the back. I've got down to about where the increases for the arm start. And so I'm a tight knitter. I used to be a really, really tight knitter, and now I'm just like a averagely tight knitter. So I seem to be able to get pretty close to gauge. I usually have to go up at least 1 needle size. I don't, and then I'm struggling with, they always say like, don't go by, and I don't go by the needles, but I do go by the kind of fabric that I want to wear. So if I went up to meet the gauge for the project, I'd probably be using a size 9 needle, and I don't want to use a size 9 because it feels real flimsy. So I'm using a size 8, US, and it's giving me a really nice fabric. So this is what I have so far. And it's probably stretched. I did stretch it a little bit just because I was trying to figure out, I've been trying to decide if I need to modify the pattern or not, because the pattern goes up to a 53 inch. I'm a 54. I think the pattern actually works out to about a 54 around. So the problem is I'm actually getting gauge. I'm actually getting a little bit less than gauge, but my row gauge is way off. And because it's a pattern, again, if you can kind of see, it's got like a cable motif on it. That's like a 30 round repeat. So if my row gauge is off, then I either need to figure out a way to add some outside of the pattern, or if I want to do a third repeat of the pattern, and I'm not really sure yet. So working on that. But that's basically the first thing I'm working on, in addition to some of the whips that I talked about in the last episode. This is going to be a great project for me. Orange is apparently one of my colors. Goes with most everything. I wear a lot of dresses for work that have sort of like this bodice, so they're sleeveless. They're kind of like fit and flare dresses, so I think that cropped look will actually be really good, and if it's awesome, then maybe I will duplicate it for future patterns as well. So that's what I'm working on right now to start. And then the second project that I have in line for 2019 is this Fern and Feather. So it's a colorwork yoke sweater by Jennifer Steingast, Knit Love Wool. She's done a lot of these. She's the designer behind the Wintersaal that I showed last episode. I've got a bunch of her patterns in my queue, and actually she just came out with a beautiful new one called Dark Water that I may actually add, but I don't know when I'll get to it. But that's like a really, like, Carolyn of Dunder Knits podcast just knit one, and it's beautiful. She did like a light gray on a dark charcoal gray. So I've been wanting another one because I like my Wintersaal. It was fun to knit. And again, I kind of was in this boat where I was like, I've got this weird quantity of worsted weight, and again, it's warm down here in North Carolina. Like, it's like 70 today. I'm sweating, sitting in a room with air conditioning on, wearing a tank top in January. So kind of have to like figure out how to work with that. But the shepherd's wool I think is really great and will be a good base for wearing in this kind of sweater. And just in case I didn't say anything, so it's so that's kind of the other information. So it's doesn't say what, I mean, it's 100% wool. It's not superwash. 250 yards. So I had about 1,000 yards of it, and then I was at Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and I just bought 2 more because I was like, I want to do something with it. 1,000 is not going to get me very far because it's essentially commercial yarn. I think the lots should be pretty similar, but if they're not, I'll stripe them. And so the other color that I bought for the sweater, I just got this yesterday, is this autumn gold color. So I think this will be really good. I like this color palette a lot. I don't have anything like this right now. So kind of that grello look. So you get a lot of this up top, and then this comes in. So I think this will be a really good sweater, and hopefully it will go pretty fast because it's worsted weight. The funny thing about this is the worsted weight gauge for this, I think, is less stitches per 4 inches than the Wintersaal, and I used a much heavier yarn for that, so it's going to be whereas that's a very dense sweater. Hopefully this one will not be quite so dense. But so I'm not sure if this will be the second one. It's just kind of the second one in my brain right now, so we'll see what I end up feeling like working on. And just a word on the 2019 Make 9, the Make 9 in general, like, I know it's the time to kind of do that stuff. And like I said last year, I wasn't super religious about it. It just gave me a way to start thinking about things and thinking about what do I want to add to my wardrobe. And now that I have actually successfully made some sweaters that fit me, it's kind of helped me gain the confidence to know that I can make clothing. I can make clothing that I want to wear. I'm not fighting it. Like, it's not like commercial clothing where I'm like making it do, or something that is just hideous and I hate, but you have to wear it because you're plus size and that's the only thing available. So I'm looking forward to having more stuff in my wardrobe that's handmade. And the only problem, I can't remember at what, if I say things and I'm like, I can't remember if I said this before, it's because I already recorded this once and may have said something. I can't remember if it was in the last video or if it's in the part I cut. My only concern, I have a bunch of sweaters and garments in my 2019 Make 9, and my only concern is that with these big items, like, I'm a process knitter for the most part, but I think the thing that makes me want to knit them is the end product, and so I just get worried that I'm gonna end up with all these projects where I'm like, I really want this to be done so I can have it, and then I'm like, just like taking forever to get things done because I keep starting new things because I get bored. So we'll see how that goes. I think that's going to be my big challenge this year, is just kind of like persistence and sticking with projects that I've started. And like I said, I showed you guys the B Street pullover. That's probably the first one that I really need to focus on. I actually just finished my Ashburn shawl. I've got to weave it on the ends and block it. I'll show you guys next episode. But I'm really excited that that's done. I've got a Birds of a Feather shawl that I really should probably finish before I start any more shawls, but we'll see. But so Chuck is on the needles right now. Fern and Feather will probably be not far behind it. I do kind of knit things in a round, if that makes sense. So you start knitting something, and then when it starts to get to be a slog, you start the next thing, and then that gives you something else to do for a while. And then you go back to the first thing, and then if the first and second thing both get boring, then you start a third. So that's how we have Whip Mountain that I have yet to conquer. So, it is what it is. I am not someone, I've come to terms with the fact that I'm going to have multiple things going on the needles, and sometimes those things that end up on Timeout Island for various reasons, or in deep hibernation, and maybe they'll get done, maybe they won't, who knows. So the third thing is, again, something that I actually started a little while ago, sort of as I was trying to figure out what sweater I wanted to knit. And so I started actually a bunch of Joji Locatelli patterns that I love and I still want to do. But I was kind of waiting to see which one was going to stick. And like none of them were working out quite right. So the pattern that I've ended up doing some work on is this Nightscape pattern. So if you can see, it's got some sort of honeycomb. That's actually super easy to knit. It's, the pattern is mostly knit with a couple cable rows, like a cable row every however many rows. So it's not nearly as complicated as it looks. It gives a great texture. So this is how far I've gotten on it so far. This is the back. Again, it's one of those ones that you knit the back down to the armhole, and then you pick up the front and do it. And I think it's got some like little details on the shoulder. Like I think it's on just one shoulder that is the buttons, but I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the pattern in a while. But so this is being knit on this really beautiful fiber optic yarns. Again, sorry guys, I'm getting used to the whole how to show things. Okay, so fiber optic yarns on their footnotes base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 420 yards. The colorway is oak moss, which I'm not sure if that is something they do all the time. When I've looked on their website, I haven't found oak moss anywhere. So, but it's this really beautiful mustardy gold color. And again, I don't really have anything like this in my closet. So when we went to Maryland Sheep and Wool last year, this and the green that the B Street pullovers being knit out of were really on my radar as colors I wanted to pick up so that I could kind of fill that gap. So as you can see, this one's just kind of being progress kept by my little Santa Bear progress keeper. He's shy apparently. That's also from Sugar Plum Circus. I love her progress keepers. If anyone ever wants to buy me a unicorn or an octopus, please feel free. I never get them because her updates I always forget, and then they're all gone. So anyways, so this is a really nice, again, a lot of the gray and yellow. Are we sensing? I swear it's not a theme. I swear it's not a theme. But apparently in this episode and the last one, there's a lot of this happening. So that's number 3 on the 2019 Make 9. And again, I'm excited to have this one, but I would expect this one probably won't get finished for quite a while yet. So, but at least it's underway. That's something, right? So again, that was the Nightscape pattern by Joji Locatelli. I'm really looking forward to having that in my closet as well. So, okay, I have all my patterns in here. So this very well may go up unedited. Sorry. We'll see. I may end up being one of those podcasters who doesn't really edit much because I'd rather sit here and talk to you and not get bogged down with the stress of trying to edit something. So we'll see. This might end up being a fairly low-key podcast. Okay, so if you guys remember that Rust in Peace and the green tank top that I did with the cowl neck. So this is the pattern for that. This is the Lina. I'll pull it out of the sleeve. Look at me being all organized, right? I just put all my patterns into those sleeves, and it's awesome, but it's hilarious because you just pull them out and then they're unorganized again. But whatever, you do what you can. So again, this is a Quince & Co pattern. So that's what it looks like as it's knit, as in linen. So you can kind of tell how I modified that. I added the cowl. There's some link to it that's in one color, so you can kind of see, I think like right around here, there's the the garter bodice kind of ends there. I think I brought mine down further just because that's where I'd rather it cut me off. It's going to be cutting me in a place. So I told you that I really was enjoying that sweater. It gets a lot of wear. And so I actually wanted to make another one. So when my family and I were in Asheville, we went to Biltmore for the holidays when my parents were visiting, and they were kind enough to take me to Black Mountain Yarn store, and I came across this really beautiful burgundy pinkish red yarn by Yoth. So Yoth Yarns, it is on their little brother base. You can see all that detail. So it's an MCN base, 435 yards, in the beetroot colorway. So I really like this color. I don't usually wear a lot of red, but this will go really well with black and turquoise and all the other things in my wardrobe. And it'll just be a single color. And I think I will probably do it again with the cowl neck, but I bought 4 skeins of this to do that with. And that's a good project because it just doesn't have sleeves. So I mean, every project has its pieces, but when the body's done, I still need a cowl, but it's not a sleeve. It's not a sleeve island twice over. So this may be something that makes an appearance when I'm like in the middle of things and I need something that I can get through the body, but then I don't have to worry about having sleeves afterwards. So that one may happen sooner than later. Again, we're getting into this point. It's so funny to me, like non-knitters or people that don't knit, that are maybe not capital K knitters, are always like, oh, I only like to knit when it's cold. And I'm like, really? I knit probably more in the summer, and maybe it's because the air conditioning's on, so it is cold. It's cold to me. But I tend to knit more in the summer, and people are always like, why are you knitting right now? It's so hot. And I'm like, because if I don't knit now, then when it's cold, I'm going to be sitting here knitting, and I'm going to be done in time not to wear it. So that's the bummer part, right? Like you knit stuff and then like say I knit 2 sweaters and they get done and it's like April. Like it's warm here by April and May. So I basically get done just in time to have to put them in storage and not be able to wear them, which is a bummer. So hopefully some of my projects will be a little bit more 3 seasons, since I'm planning to knit some things that I can wear with dresses for work. So hopefully that will help a little bit. But again, you can really only wear knitted yarn, wool garments for so long down here, that's kind of a bummer. And I'm not really into the whole, like, I don't love the look of the knitted tees. It's not my style. So in the summer, this is pretty much what you're going to find me looking like most of the time. Sleeveless. Pretty much as little clothing as I can wear and stay decent. So, okay, so that's 4 projects. The next one is, I'm not sure what pattern I'm using yet, but it is going to be knit with this yarn. So I think the color is showing up really well. So it's this really beautiful, like I meant to buy a brown and I sort of ended up with this brown with really vibrant copper highlights. So I love it. I bought this at SAF, at the Southeast Animal Fiber Fair in October in Asheville. The big huge bummer is that this is by Fables and Fairy Tales, 100% superwash merino sport weight kettle dyed, 770 yards per 8 ounces. So this is a pretty big skein, and I bought 2 of them. So I've got about, almost 1,600 yards. Maybe I should have bought another one, but they don't have a website. It's killing me because I'm like, I want to go, not just to buy this, but like look at some of their other colors again, so I may just have to wait till SAF next year to go back and try and find them. But I think the yarn is just gorgeous. And so I've got 2 skeins of this, and my plan is to knit a couple of cardigans, like I mentioned, to wear with my sleeveless dresses to make them fall and winter appropriate. So I've got 2 patterns kind of in mind, and I actually went back the other day and realized one of them is written for merino weight, which, you know, I can use a bulky yarn to knit a merino, it's written for worsted weight, and I can use a bulky yarn to do a worsted weight because that yarn substitution usually works, but using a lighter weight yarn for worsted, usually, unless the gauge is super tight, doesn't usually work for me. So this is one pattern I'm considering. This is the Salal by Andi Sutherland. I just really like her. She's definitely got sort of that 50s pinup aesthetic, and that goes really well for me with a lot of my fit and flow dresses. I actually really like this one in the green. It's very tempting to go find another green and do basically exactly the same thing as in her patterns. This one has a gauge of 20 stitches by 28 rows, and is meant to be knit in worsted weight. So this one might be a little difficult for that. So we'll see what I end up with if that one, and there's every chance in the world that I might decide to go buy some more shepherd's wool to do that one, because I feel like I need some basic things, and I do actually need like a black sweater and a navy blue sweater and a couple other things. So maybe in the long run that's what will happen. But the other potential option is this one, the Vian, don't know. Grace of Babel's Traveling Yarns knit this one, and in like a really beautiful green color, and it's awesome. It looks awesome, and I really love the yarn. Let me see if I can find you a picture of the back. The back is kind of like a mesh, which probably for me, again, being a sweaty person, let's say it more politely, a warm-natured person in a warm climate, something with some ventilation might actually be a better fit for me. So this one is intended to be used by a DK or similar DK weight wool yarn. Oh, but it has this, you guys, the gauge is 19 stitches per 27 rows. So I guess it's just meant to be a very drapey gauge. So maybe we'll see what I end up with. I'm so used to wanting things to be like a firm gauge. I'm not always great with drapey, because it feels like it's too loose to me. So something to work on. So that's what this will be at some point. I also have a navy blue DK weight from Madeline Tosh, that I think I kind of decided like one pattern will be knit from this, one pattern will be knit from that. The only thing is that one, like, I just got it, but it's not really like, that's more like a utility knit. Like I need a sweater that's that color, but I'm not excited about it. So I don't know, that one maybe we'll get knit, but I could see that one sitting on the back burner for a while, marinating until I figure out exactly what I want it to be, which is fine. Again, that's what stash is, right? Like, some of it's got to marinate for a while, otherwise it hasn't figured out what it wants to be yet. It's like a teenager that needs to take a gap year so they don't go to college and ruin their life by becoming a creative writing major. That's not a judgment call. I'm an American Studies major, and I have never done anything with that degree. So maybe some of us would do well with a gap year. Anyways, back to the yarn. Okay, so I think that's most of the sweaters that I have planned currently for 2019. So 4 sweaters. I knit 3 things this year. Finishing, so that would put me at having like 4 sweaters and a tank knit this year if I did all of those, which I think is doable. I may have gotten overconfident from knitting those few, but I think it will depend. A lot of my crafting time got taken up this year by some felt flower making that I did, with the intention of doing some shows around Christmas that didn't end up happening. So hopefully next year that won't happen and I'll have more time to just focus on knitting. So the rest of my 2019 Make 9 is shawl patterns. So I have a lot of yarns that I'm really excited about them, and I happen to have the forethought, luckily, to buy multiple skeins, which was an issue that I would run into a lot, where it was like I found these patterns that I wanted to make, but they would require two skeins of fingering weight yarn to do a shawl, and then they weren't meant to be multiple colors. So I finally got wise and started buying 2 skeins when the yarn like really spoke to me, and so that's awesome. And I'm excited to have some things. And again, these shells aren't set in stone. Like I've got like, I know I want to use the yarn, and I know I want to do some patterns. So we'll kind of see what ends up making the most sense as I get to it. Excuse me. Okay, so the first yarn that I have is this MCN Handmade by Zan, who is a local to me dyer. She actually came to, I organize a market for work, like a pop-up craft market. And so she was at one, and I was like, yay, I get to go fondle yarn while I'm at work. And she had this really beautiful skein. And so I bought 2 right there, super reasonably priced, by the way. And her colorway is Into the Night. It's on her Dreamy Sock base, which is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, 382 yards. So I bought 2 using my new plan. If it speaks to me that strongly, I probably ought to buy more than one. And then I got home and I was like, I think I need another one. So I messaged her and was like, can you mail me another one? Which she very kindly did. So I have 3 skeins of it, and I really love this yarn because it reminds me so much. It's such a natural color, right? Like the blue and the white makes me think of water and clouds and just being outside on a beautiful day. The pops of orange that you can kind of see there make me think of flowers, and the green just sort of, so it makes me feel like it's, being on water on a beautiful summer day. Not a poet, not like I feel weird sometimes saying things like that. But if I'm being honest and telling you what I really think, which is the exercise we're trying here, that's what it seems like. So it needs to be a pattern, I think, that really highlights the coloring. And the first one I thought about doing was actually the Rhinelust, because it has this scallopy, which always makes me think of water, this scallopy knit pattern, knit stitch to it. Straight on, there we go. So that's the Rhinelust. This is by Melanie Berg. This was on my 2018 Make 9, and I plan to do it this year. So I thought that would be awesome because it seems so much like water, and with this one, but this pattern takes, let's see, 942 yards. So I'd have some left over, which is fine. Actually, maybe this is what I'll end up using. I don't know. I think I've gotten some things confused because I was thinking that was less. Anyways, so I have 382 yards, which means I've got, what is that? 900 plus 240. So I have like 1100 yards of this. So I want to use as much of it as I can. So what I think I may knit with it instead is the Melanie Berg Sunwalker shawl, which I really like. And I like that she's knit it in one color, and her pattern really shows how it can show off a good variegated yarn. So it's the Sunwalker by Melanie Berg. And again, I really like her shawls. They end up being huge, and she incorporates a lot of texture and interesting stitch patterns into them. So I think it might be this one, because I think this one requires a little over almost 1100 yards. So I'm going to end up with a little bit left over. Maybe it doesn't matter all that much, but I don't have enough yarn in any other of a different colorway that I could knit this one with. So this may end up being that, and I may end up doing something else for the Rhinelust. So we'll see. But that's what I'm planning for right now. So that one I kind of want to cast on immediately. I actually did wind up a cake of the yarn. So this is what it looks like in the cake. You can kind of see So again, you just get those little pops of orange and green, but otherwise it's like a fluffy cloud-filled sky. So I feel super goofy making analogies like that, but that's what it is. That's what it looks like to me. So anyways, that one might get cast on relatively soon. The shawls are all fighting for priority because I want all of them, like right now, especially because it's shawl wearing weather. So that's the big bummer, is that like I almost want to forsake all the sweaters to work on shawls, but shawls are good to work on during the summer too. So we'll see. So the other contender for that Rhinelust shawl, which I think I have enough yardage of this, is this. So this is Gray Bonfire by Hot Knit Yarn. So this is her yak base. It's 70% merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon, fingering weight. So I love this yarn. I bought this at the Carolina Fiber Festival. Can you see how vibrant and full those colors are? Like, I like that it's on the yak base because that gives it such a different, it's almost like it makes it it makes the colors deeper because it's not having to make up so much from just the bare wool. But so the colors are just freaking gorgeous. Like, sometimes I'm like, man, I seem to be trending toward a lot of rainbow things, which yes, I am relatively liberal, but I mean, that's not why I'm gravitating toward them, but I'm like, oh, well, at least people will know. So it has this really gorgeous coloring. And everything looks almost similar to the periwinkle sheep green yarn that I had, almost like it's been not bronzed, like antiqued. And I think that's the yak coming through. So I really, really love this yarn. And this is it caked up, excuse me. So I'm thinking that's what the Rhinelust shawl is going to be made out of. So in my brain, the only problem with that is that it doesn't correspond to that scallop color as much as I would like. Like, I feel like that needs to be something water related, but I don't know what that's based off of. So brain can just sit in the back seat and chill out for a bit. Okay, so that's 2 shawls that I'm planning to work on for the 2019 Make 9. The next one is a 2-color shawl. I've been wanting to do this pattern for quite a while now, so I'm excited to finally have a combination that I think works for it. So there's this Caramel Pine. It's by Jenny F. So it's using, there's some striping up here, and I think the way it's knit is like there's a triangle, and then you come back and you pick up this and knit it as an asymmetrical triangle to the end. Excuse me. So I like that this one was knit with like a really variegated dark color and then sort of this light color, and I really wanted to find something that I can do like that. I think I might end up I might end up doing the inverse of it, so that this part will be the dark color, because that's what I have 2 skeins of, is the dark color, and then this part over here will end up being the light. So that's fine. So the yarn that I am planning to use for that is Hooker's Corner. If anyone is watching this and has seen what's happened with Kathy, her family lost their home in the Paradise wildfires. So this is like treasure, and I feel like it has to be used appropriately, because until she can get back up dying again, I don't want anything. I don't want to use her yarn for anything less than something I'm going to love forever. The really unfortunate irony is that I love this colorway to death. It's gorgeous. It's got that really like burgundy transitioning into the orangey yellow into the brown. This colorway name is Wildfire. So this is dyed on her 3H plus sock, which is an 80%, it's an MCN, merino cashmere nylon, 435 yards. So I've got 2 skeins of this. And then I think for the light color, I'm going to use this one. So if you can see, it's got brown and little pops of orange, but it's a neutral base. Because that was the thing. I like that one is pretty neutral and doesn't really have a lot that's competing. But the thing is, I don't want a big section that's just cream. Like, I don't know that it'll get worn a lot. Like, it just, I don't know. It doesn't grab me the way this one did. So this is Crisp Air on Briar Sock by the Blackberry Ridge. It is a 80% merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards. It's a really nice, highly twisted base. It's just very natural looking. So I feel like this is, you know, if you wanted a woodsy looking natural, like this is it. So I'm really excited to knit this one too. Like, I feel like these are going to look gorgeous together. So can't wait to knit that one. And again, not sure when I'll get to it. I really want to get to it sooner than later, but we'll see what projects end up kind of happening first and foremost. And then my second to last project, I don't have a pattern for this yet. I haven't quite figured it out. The natural idea is birds of a feather, but I'm already knitting one, and it feels like a slog to me, so I don't know that I really want to do that again. But when we were at SAF, I was in Apothecary Fabrications, and she had this. And I was like, hi, you need to come home with me. So I bought 2 skeins of this. Like, this was truly like a last minute run around, and I was just like, this is a completely an impulse purchase. I have to buy it. So I bought this. It's a 70% merino, 30% silk. So it's got this it's a single, but it's got a really gorgeous shine to it because of the silk. And then I also bought this. So this is a mohair base. You can kind of see it's got a lot of gold. It's got a little, like, some hints of green. So I want to do something with these together. And I've got one skein already caked up. And I had a pattern that I started on. So the funny thing, I think I mentioned in the last video that I put, this was the second pair of colors that I put up when I was like, I want to make a shawl. What should I make? And everyone was like, the gray and yellow. I was like, damn it, I really wanted to do this one. So, this is the combination that I really want to figure out something. And I think what I'm thinking is to find something where this is knit mostly in like garter stitch, and then maybe this is knit kind of as like an inset or short row. I've seen a couple patterns. I just don't have anything nailed down yet, so I'm not even going to show you any because I don't know if that's what it's going to be or not. But I'm just like, I'm in love with this. And again, this is one of those things, like, this is a really vibrant colorway. But it will go with most things that I wear. And so I feel like even though it's really colorful, it's very much in my wheelhouse and in my comfort zone. So looking forward to having that. I feel like a lot of things, I feel like I've knit a lot of the things in the same color recently, or in the same color families, but at the same time, I feel like I don't have many things that, like, I feel like I have a lot of holes, you know, like if I think, oh, I want to wear a green shawl today or something, like, I don't have many things that go with green stuff. Or like if I was wearing a purple dress and I wanted to wear something green, like, I have one shawl that kind of works. But because I've knit a lot of things that have more than one color, I feel like they get locked into, like, this can only be worn with a certain thing. And so I want there to be more things, either that I just stop carrying and just say I'm wearing it anyways, or that just kind of fill more holes. So that's kind of the main thing. Those are the key projects I have on the radar. For my 2019 Make 9, like I mentioned, the new Jennifer Steingast pattern just came out, and I bought it because I was like, yes, that one's, it's a fingering weight with a color, it's just a one color yoke, or it's a 2-color sweater with, you know, just one color work. And I have 5 skeins of Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply in this really gorgeous deep orange yarn. I think it's called Dark Cygnus, that I bought last year at her gratitude sale. And I've been waiting for the pattern that would help me get there. And I've been thinking about doing like the Sapilla, and I don't know, like those patterns are fine, like, they're beautiful. And the pattern is by Boylan Knitworks. Just a lot of them are knit to be at a really loose gauge, and they're knit more to be like where your arms are down, your armholes are like down here, and that's just not really my style. So I'd have to do some modifications to kind of make it fit the way I would want it to at a tighter gauge. So that one's kind of been on hold while I've processed that. But now that I've seen that one, I've got enough yarn to do the main color in the Dark Cygnus, and I just need to find a single skein and its own fingering weight that I can do the color work in that I'll be happy with. So I think that would probably be the one thing that I haven't shown you today that'll be on there. The last thing, we'll see if my parents are still watching this one to the end as well. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. So my dad asked me, Dad, you can watch this part, but just know the surprise will be ruined if you wanted to be surprised. So my dad doesn't ask for a lot of knitwear or anything. I knit him a couple of hats in the last couple of years. Normally when I ask him what color do you want, he says black or brown. And I'm like, okay, like I'll knit you that. And then my mom says, will you knit me something black? And I say, no, Dad's the only one that I will knit black for, because knitting black is the worst. Like, it's the thing that I always think is hilarious, that like new knitters will be like, oh, I bought all this black yarn to knit a scarf, because they're like, that's what I'll use. And I'm like, oh, you are not going to become a knitter, because that's the worst thing in the world to knit with, because it's super hard to see. So anyways, I think I mentioned something to my dad about, it was kind of a family joke about how he's the only one that I'll knit black for. And so my dad's really into cars, and especially like Mopar, Chrysler vehicles and things like that. And so he said, I would take a Mopar blue hat if you want to make me one of those. And I was like, done. We will do that. Okay. So I went to one of my local yarn stores and kind of was looking around, and I happened to come across this shade. So this is Matisse Blue and Malabrigo Rio, I think. So my plan is to knit my dad a hat out of this, and I think I have a pattern picked out. Like he doesn't necessarily want anything super like fancy. I don't think so. I usually don't pick out super fancy patterns for him. But I want to do something that has a little bit of interest to it. But I really like it. Hopefully, Dad, this isn't too vibrant for you. I think it's a beautiful color, and I'm excited to knit it. And if you hate it, then I'll wear it, or David will wear it. But so this is probably something that I'll try and knit in the next week or two. My dad's coming to dog sit for us while we go to Disney with some friends. And so I'd like to have it done for him by then so he can take it home with him. And so I kind of don't think of this as like a 2019, because I feel like my 2019 Make 9 is more like bigger projects, things that'll take more than a couple days. But so yeah, so this one's in the queue, probably to be cast on in the next day or two. So, Dad, if you hate it, I hope you don't. I hope you like it. So, that's my 2019 Make 9. Thank you again for everyone that has made it through this. And I wanted to talk about what I was interested in making this year. I reached out to a couple folks that have podcasts that I really enjoy. Chevy Rowell, Babel's Traveling Yarns, Dunder Knit, The Grocery Girls, The Knot House, just a couple people. So if you are watching this, awesome. If you're not watching this, I'm pretending you're watching it anyways, because then I get to think that, at least I'm having a conversation with you the way that you're having a conversation with me when I watch your podcasts. And I've been enjoying this so far, so I'm looking forward to doing it more. I'm going to try and do another one before we go on our vacation in a week or two, and we'll see where I get by then. Hopefully I'll have some progress to show you on the Chuck and show you my Ashburn and a couple other things. Until then, thank you for everyone who's watched. If you've stumbled across me or found me through Instagram or whatever, like, subscribe, whatever, all that crap that helps me to be more known so more people can enjoy it. My goal is not to have thousands and thousands of subscribers. If it happens, wonderful, great. But, I've tried to have a pretty reasonable perspective on, I'm going to pretend there's 10, 20, 100 people watching, and if that's all there is, that's okay. Like, this is for me to be able to talk about the things that I am enjoying and wanting to knit and share my thoughts and do all those fun millennial things that people always mock us for. but it's also a way to be part of the fiber community. And so even if I'm just talking to myself or into the void or whatever, I get to feel a little bit more connected to all the knitters across the world that are interested in hearing about other people's projects and yarns and, you know, all the things like that. So I'm going to try and keep this one short. It'll probably just get uploaded without any editing, so nothing fancy this time around. But thank you for watching, and I look forward to talking with you guys soon. Bye.